let's begin. All right, so this is the Friday VIP session for Meller Marketing. I am not Brenda. She has much better hair. And well, a slightly higher voice, maybe more than this slightly. But this is still the Friday VIP session, and we are the All-Stars. Stand ready to answer your queries, questions, and we can be of help. And the All-Stars this week include, let's see, Dr. Sue, Joey Himmelfarb, and who else do we have among the All-Stars?
Linda's here.
And Linda.
And Diana.
Wait a second. Wonderful. Well, this is just a cornucopia of All-Stars. So as we get things started, if you are new to this session, please type the word new in all caps in the chat and let us know how you found out about the session. Additionally, if you have a question about LinkedIn or the job hunt or something networking that we can answer or address, go ahead and type the word question in all caps, followed by your question to make it easier to track. And we may get to your question today. No promises. Now, as we get started and to warm things up, so this is a Zoom conference. This is a Zoom meeting. To be the most comfortable that you can rename yourself to how you want to be addressed during this Zoom meeting. To rename yourself on a Mac, click on your own video and select those three dots and rename. If you're on a PC, right-click on your own video and select rename. And here's an extra bonus Zoom tip because it's Friday. If you click on the up caret next to either the microphone or the video and go into the settings, at the very bottom of that menu on the left-hand navigation bar will be accessibility. Once you're on accessibility, something that you can do that you may not have known that you can do, you can change the size of the chat. Did you know that? Mine by default is already 200%. I forget that that's not everybody's default. Changing the size of the chat can, hey, make it better for you. If 200% makes it even better, wonderful. If 50% is just fine, that's fine. Accessibility just makes things more easy for whomever is going to use it. So explore the options under accessibility. And again, you can get there by clicking on the up caret next to either the mute or the video and selecting accessibility at the bottom of that left-hand navigation menu. All right, so let's see. All-Stars, what we're going to do is the usual, because we're practiced at it, the introduction. And I am going to borrow liberally from the format. So here's what I'm going to do. The introductions will go as follows. Diana, Joey, and remember your order. Diana, Joey, Linda, Sue, and then back to me. So Diana, if you are ready to introduce yourself.
Yes, I am. Good morning. Thank you, Christopher. It's great to have you as MC. I'm Diana Stevens, and I'm very pleased to be here as a coach and help all of you in any way that I can. I have a company called Mindful Job Alignment. And what I do is I work with individuals who are in transition on the emotional side of their job search. I have a variety of stress relief techniques that I teach, as well as job visioning and a job search action plan. So please, I put in the chat my LinkedIn profile. as well as my website, mindfuljobalignment.com. So please feel free to reach out with any questions that you have. For Brenda's Job Seekers group, I do offer a 45-minute discovery session to see how I can be of service to you.
Thank you very much. And
Morning, all. Thanks for being here today. My name is Joey Himmelfarb. I am a retired engineer / salesperson and an author. I've written a book about selling yourself in the job search. I'm writing another book as well, almost a sequel to that. But I am here as a listener mostly to listen to what's happening and hear your concerns and frustrations and hopefully your successes as well. But I will go by my mantra, its hole of being negative and beating yourself up. I will chime in and try to push you back to the light side, if I may, because I do believe that as you're looking for work, you're selling yourself. And if you're not positive, it's going to be a challenge. So that's my mantra. Off to Linda.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Linda Brubaker, and I'm a reformed recruiter, executive search person, a hiring manager of talent acquisition, and I've been doing job search coaching now for the past 6 years. And one of the things that I do is that I work with you to help find what your transferable skills are and how to showcase those transferable skills in your next forever job. What I do is bring you that information from both sides of the desk, both from the recruiter as well as the hiring manager and the job seeker, so that you can make the best decisions you can for your own job search. Off to Sue.
Thanks, Linda. Thank you, Christopher. I am the mentor with pom-poms. You'll see me celebrating every single thing. It doesn't have to be huge, just things that I feel like deserve pom-poms. I'm also running a global mentoring practice, which means I work with people primarily outside the US, actually, more so in the US now under different programs. But what I bring to this group also is the perspective to remember that everything we do right now is global. And Christopher and Julia, forgive me if I'm taking one of your tasks, but there were so many new people. I'm not sure I can read my writing, but I'm going to read off all the new people I saw before we started intros. Thea, who was recommended by a friend, I think her name was Twana. Juliana, who I know, Kudemeyer, I think it is, a friend of Brenda's, and I've met her from Together Digital. Steve Hall, Greg Stickles, forgive me, I didn't write down all the last names. Frederick B, Ed Vincent, and Joanne, I think it's John Balvo, if I got it right. But anyway, 6 new people. 2 were recommended by Twana. Another one was recommended by a friend. I mean, it's fascinating. A couple saw it on LinkedIn. Clearly, we're getting some people that, and I saw someone earlier on LinkedIn say, oh, I've got to join this group. So I love seeing new people come in. I'm sorry that you have to come in. I think Joey and Linda and Diana and Christopher and I always say, and we were all together last week on the big LinkedIn Live-a-thon, we wish we didn't have to do this, to say that we're here to help you for job seeking, because we can also do other things in your career stuff. But we're happy that you came to a group that I can tell you now, over almost 3 years of being in the group, thanks to Brenda letting me come in to learn about the US job seeking situation. I have seen people go on to great successes and sometimes come back again because things are up and down in jobs. So thanks for letting me take the platform. But I did want to welcome all the new people, and you get pom-poms. You show up here, that means you're ready to work. You're ready to hear. Joey, you were a little soft-spoken today. Joey usually says, I'm the one who's going to be, I'm going to paraphrase, I'm the one who's going to be in your face and tell you need to pick your stuff up and get going. But yeah, it's great to be here. And it's kind of fun to be at the big kids table without the biggest kid around. I won't call her the mom, but I think we'll do fine today. Thank you, Christopher.
absolutely. Thank you. And Sue, thank you for making a special welcome to those new members. Yes, you are in the right place. Yes, you don't necessarily want to be here. But we are here, and this community is ready to support and encourage and engage with you. So in the chat, do we have any questions yet? And Brian, I see Dr. Brian. And one of the things that we're going to do is there's a Zoom feature that we can utilize, and Brenda utilizes it all the time. If you click on the reactions button about right here, you will see the raise hand feature. So when you raise your hand, that lets us know, hey, you have a question. And if you have a success story, then you can put success in all caps in the chat, and we will be happy to hear about your success and cheer you on. Dr. Brian, how can we help?
Thank you, and good morning, everybody. So through a wonderful mentor, Brenda, I created a company page. So I'm working on that. But as I'm launching my own coaching and training, I want to update my recommendations or testimonials on LinkedIn. So I asked a couple of friends of mine who gave me one 5 or 10 years ago, who recently went to a new event of mine, to give a new testimonial. It seems like they're blocked. So do I have to delete the old one and then have them come in and create a new one? How does that work? And thank you.
Okay. Joey, I see your hand up. Do you have an answer?
No, I don't. I do not have an answer for that right now. I had another issue, but I want to let Brian's issue get addressed first, and then I'll pipe in.
All right, All Stars, do you have any feedback or suggestions for Brian? All right, that is something
Okay,
that
since
we'll
it's
keep
going
on
worldwide
Oh.
and throughout LinkedIn, then I'll have an answer later. But I have another consult with Brenda next week, so it's all good. But
And
I'm still here listening.
I think, Brian, did you ask last week or the week before? Someone recently asked about recommendations. I was looking at my profile because I haven't been seeking them in a long time, and my recommendations of the few I have are very old. I think the best thing to do is get rid of old recommendations. Maybe some is better than none, but when I looked at it now in light of what I've been hearing from Brenda generally, but even last week in the LinkedIn Live-a-thon, thinking about all the things you're being advised to do, people want to know, what have you done for me lately? So I would just, I don't know if it's up to you. I think you can delete anything off of that. I don't think you can hide it, because I noticed the other day when I was checking it out, there's no hiding something, and just delete them and ask them to do an updated one, but maybe give them the wording of what they did before and what you'd like them to focus on now. So that's how I would handle it in absence of, and I'm not surprised that you could only have one per person, because otherwise it'd be like the Amazon reviews, ballot stuffing. So
No, thank you very much for that. And I just as a reminder, so I asked a similar question for the company page. So that was me. And then what's happening is, as I'm marketing myself to event planners and small speakers bureaus, is they want to see up-to-date testimonials. So I've done like 4 free live talks on Zoom, and a couple of my friends attended. So I'll delete the old ones and then have them add a new one. And then, just as a tip, because Brenda does recommend this, if any of you feel comfortable seeing me, hi, and look at my profile, if you don't mind recommending me for soft skills business training, weight loss coaching, or speaking, that'd be great, because that also helps all of us. And I'll be happy to do the same to you. And my LinkedIn profiles in the chat. I'll be quiet and turn it over. Thank you very much.
Hey guys, I'm in my own profile right now, and I'm in the recommendation section, and there's an edit button that allows you, there's a pencil icon that allows you to request a revision from the person who sent you the recommendation. As well, there's a slider button that allows you to turn the visibility of any recommendation that you've received on or off. So Brian, those settings may be there already for you.
That is true. And Joey, I see your hand raised.
What I wanted to do, Chris, is before we got into all of the success stories that I want, and because Sue had taken the time to at least to start listing all of the new people that are joining us, I thought it wouldn't be a bad idea to give them an opportunity to introduce themselves on camera if they wanted to, and just to demonstrate that we are in fact a friendly, non-hostile environment, and give them an opportunity to give us a little bit, to let us know a little bit more about themselves. So I'm just let's see if that was something they wanted to do or not.
That is always a wonderful idea. So if you are new and you would like to introduce yourself to the group, and just a 10 to 15-second introduction, your name, where you were located, and how we can help. So go ahead, use the raise hand button, which is right under there, and we will be happy to hear from you. Right. Let's see. Thea, welcome.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Taya Watkins, delighted to be
Yeah.
here. And thank you, Twana, for introducing me to this group. I've spent over 20 years in financial services. In transition,
Wow.
passionate about creating inclusive cultures, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and the employee experience. So looking for a new role, either in that area, which is clearly my passion, or in a broader business management, chief of staff type role, which is what I did for the last several years that I was at Lloyd's Banking Group in New York City. So it's great to be here.
Well, thank you very much. And I apologize for the mispronunciation.
No worries
So
at all. No worries at all.
if you have the LinkedIn app on your phone, that's something that you can add a pronunciation to your LinkedIn profile. And that way, you know, the pronouncer allows for 10 seconds. So 10 seconds is more than enough time to say your name and what you do or what you offer or how you can help. So that would be a consideration. Thank you so much for joining us. And next is Joanne. Welcome.
Good morning. I hope all,
Morning.
all is well. Thank you, Tawana, for connecting me to this group. I just want to bring up that Tawana and I worked at a company about a year ago, and we connected on a networking group. We did not work together, but from there we have started to build a friendship and helping each other out on our job search. So I'm currently in Westchester, Pennsylvania, and I'm looking for a senior level HR role, specifically around HR transformation, HR operations, and or HRIS. And I have extensive experience, not only in chemicals, financial services, but also have my own consulting business and spent the last year consulting for a big firm. So have all different industries. So I'm really excited to be here. And in my spare time, sorry, more than 15 seconds, I actually help people in transition and work with them to help find their jobs. So I'm more than happy to connect. I actually put my information in the chat box. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much and welcome. And Brett. Welcome.
Hey everyone, I'm Brett Koretsky. I have been in healthcare, IT, and analytics for most of my career, as well as project management. I just put my link again in the chat if anyone wants to connect with me. I'm looking for a director, senior director position in healthcare, either on the insurance side, the Blue Crosses and the card you have in your wallet, basically, or on the provider side, which is hospital systems and things like that. So if you know anyone, please let me know, and I'm happy to return the favor.
Thank you very much, Brett. So next we're going to hear from Juliana, and then it looks like we'll get into the questions. I see a couple of other hands raised.
Hi, everyone. I'm Juliana Kudemeyer. Just call me Julie. It's way less of a mouthful. Brenda, I've actually worked with her a few times. She's on the board at Together Digital for Detroit, and I'm down in Columbus, Ohio. I do everything in marketing, but I'm looking to kind of pivot specifically more into the product and digital experience field. So thanks for having me today.
Well, thank you. And again, welcome. Sherry, I see your hand raised.
Good morning, everybody. I have a success to share with everybody, and it might sound like a shameless plug, but I signed up for Brenda's ongoing, oh, please help me out. I just forgot the name of it. It starts on Monday.
The boot camp.
Boot camp, yes. And this is a structured webinar specifically for experienced rich job seekers like I am. And I signed myself up for Brenda's boot camp because I'm not very structured in my job search. I diddle around at it and blah, blah, blah. I need to really put the pedal to the metal. And not only will I get the LinkedIn coaching, but I'll be able to excited about. And there's some other pieces of it. It goes on for 3 months. So I'm super excited about the structure of it. I'm super excited that I went ahead and made that purchase. Brenda is deep and long in her LinkedIn ability to coach people. And she's just, as most of you know, has been on here before, she's a marvelous coach. So that's my success.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. David, I see your hand up.
Yes, thank you. I forget who it was, but someone earlier mentioned that recommendations in LinkedIn should only be sold, and that eventually they become less valuable. So I'm wondering, how old is too old? Is 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 8 years?
Well, let's have our all-stars weigh in on the age of a recommendation. Stars?
I have a comment about it. It was Sue that was talking about that, David. So, I mean, in some respects, she's right. What have you done for me lately is what the hiring manager is looking for. But having said that, sometimes the recommendations, although they may categorize you as a good worker, and specifically about how a job you did, they also can capture a part of your personality that you've had forever. And so that may be, and so it's not so much, so there's two questions that the hiring manager is trying to answer while he or she is talking to you in an interview. Hopefully you've gotten an interview. Number one, can you do the job? Well, they can probably tell it from your resume, assume you haven't lied. And I know nobody here lies, so let's assume your resume is up to date and it's correct and it's accurate. The second question that they're trying to answer is, will you fit in? Because here's the thing, they can't tell from the resume. It's impossible. So they got to talk to you and they got to meet you like we used to do in the old days, face to face. And so that part of your personality, or that the answer to that question, would you fit in, could be answered kind of, maybe, from the recommendations. If your recommendations from 15, 20 years ago talk about what a loving, wonderful, caring person you are. If I was a hiring manager, okay, now you've just raised your capital, because I'm looking for people that are loving and caring, right? And honest and decent, right? I'm not looking for scourges. I'm not looking for
So within 5 years should be okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Good, thank you.
And Diana, do you have something to add?
Yes, I was going to say that I have recommendations on my profile that go all the way back that reference my time in college, quite honestly.
Really?
The date of the recommendation is not from then because LinkedIn wasn't invented back then, but the person knew me, and I was a president of a professional music fraternity, and she was my vice president. I also have a recommendation from somebody from 2005 who was she was a friend of mine, but she also taught one of my classes in MBA school. So it's more about a recommendation is not only about your skills, but it can also be about your character and how you show up and things like that. I mean, certainly my recommendation from the time when I was in college, which actually was undergraduate school, when I was in that role, is not one about all my experience. It's about my character, my leadership. But even back then, I was showing that, when I was in college. So I don't think we need to get hung up on time frame. I think you do need to have some recent ones about what you're currently doing, certainly, because people look at it chronologically. But I would not delete things that speak to your character. Okay, I
That
think
sounds
that's
good.
important.
And Dr.
Thank you
Seuss.
very much.
I'm glad David asked the question to clarify this. In my case, until I would say the last year, I had no recommendations since 2004 because I joined LinkedIn. It was 2000. I joined LinkedIn 19 years ago, and it's 20 years old. And there was a spate of stuff that LinkedIn was doing in the early 2000s, asking people to do recommendations. Just like about 10 years ago, every time you logged on, they wanted you to give endorsements. So Diana, I'm just going to emphasize the point you just made. You want some recent recommendations because 2 years ago, people could have looked at me. I was known globally, but not known in the US platform so much. And you would have seen Mark Heffernan from 2004 saying Sue was great to work with, but you wouldn't have seen anything recent. And you don't want employers looking at that saying, well, why wouldn't someone write recommendations? And I will just tell you, I'm an evidence-based person. I don't have the numbers on this. In the last year, recommendations have skyrocketed again. It's like everybody's asking for that emphasis as opposed to endorsements, which I view as crowdsourcing. Those are people that give you an endorsement for what they've seen you able to do versus a recommendation, which is more tailored. So that's my addition to giving you an idea about how to use also the different aspects of the platform. But I'm glad we had a little discussion on this because it helped to get all of the what Joey and Diana were saying about more recent, but don't get rid of things that demonstrate, the way in which you've had your work career over decades like I have.
Well, thank you all very much. That is insightful. Character counts. So recommendations, it is not the most recent recommendation that matters. It is that you have recommendations. So seek them out, ask for them, and give them. Julia, I see your hand up.
Hi, thank you. Nice to meet you, Christopher.
Likewise.
I was on a call today with somebody and they were saying they were just getting really tired of being in their seat all day long and like getting more out and about and doing coffee meetings and networking meetings. So I wanted to offer two based on two people who spoke here earlier. I think it was Thea is also looking for a chief of staff role, which I'm looking for as well. And Thea, my email is right next to my first and last name up there in the box. So if you want to email me directly, there's a chief of, or anybody does, there's a chief of staff event next week, but you have to, the person's being very picky. It's in Manhattan and you have to have held the title of chief of staff. So Thea, if you've held that title or anyone else and you want to go with me, I'm trying to up the age quotient in the networking party anyway. So I would like a few of us, I should say richly experienced people there. Please email me and you can be my wing person or people. And then the second one is there's an HR event next Wednesday that I've been invited to. I'm not an HR professional. It's being hosted, I think, by Wine and Dine, which is spelled WHINEANDDINE.org. Wine, like, cry, and dine, all spelled out, .org. And it's going to be in Midtown next Wednesday. So I've been invited to go. I'm not an HR person. So, I'm sure HR people are more than welcome. I don't know how it works, but I hope to see you at both those events if anyone's interested. Thank you.
Thank you. And did you put that information also in the chat?
I will.
Okay.
Well, you know what? I would prefer people email me directly if that's okay. On the chief of staff one, just because it isn't kind of open. But I'll put Wine and Dine, the email address, and you can, the URL, and you guys can look at it and see what the parameters are. But
thank you very much.
Email me. Thank you.
Okay. Joanne, I see your hand up.
So I just want to make a comment on the recommendations, although I know they're important. But the other day I was talking with an executive recruiter and he said, wow, you have 18 recommendations. And I was like, okay. And he was like, and it shows a pattern from all the people that you've worked with. Me too. I'm supposed to say 20 plus, right? Years of experience. And his recommendation was not to change any. I mean, I have more recent ones, but he said that's what he goes and looks for. So I just wanted to put that out there. It kind of took me by surprise, but I think not deleting anything unless it's irrelevant to what you're trying to pursue.
That's a great point. And yes, one metric that Brenda mentions is things should be in line, meaning you should have given more recommendations than you have received. And if that's out of whack, look to who you can give a recommendation to. So if you are always taking, if you only have recommendations but haven't given any, then that is out of whack. So to keep that more in line, see how many you can give and make it a meaningful recommendation, not just, they were always really nice. That's good, but there should be more.
That's an interesting comment because, oops.
No,
On a PSPS, it's a local chapter here in Philadelphia. And they ran us through what the ATS actually looks for. And to my surprise, it actually tracks all the stuff that you do on LinkedIn. So another advice that people told me as I'm applying to jobs, of course, reaching out to people I know to help with that, was making sure that if you have the ability to apply via LinkedIn and then putting your resume up as well, that helps you in your ATS score. So I was amazed.
even with ATS, networking counts.
Yes, absolutely.
So wouldn't you, I've always heard the advice is it's better to apply directly from the company's website rather than applying from LinkedIn. Do you
True.
do both then?
So what they were saying is once you get to the company website, a lot of the companies have the ability to start your application via LinkedIn, meaning apply with LinkedIn. That's what I'm talking about. I apologize if I wasn't clear about that, because that puts all your stats as well as your skills and making sure your skills are updated, because then that puts it in. And sometimes you don't even see it, but it's behind the scenes. And I'll be more than happy. I don't want to take up time to talk about that offline. As I said, I do all HR systems as well, but it really does work.
Absolutely. Very good points.
And insightful.
Yes, it is. And yes, we should keep our skills up to date. We have room for 50 of them. Make sure that those are 50 that apply to you. And in one of the recent updates to LinkedIn, you can now add skills to the various jobs that you've held. But wait, there's more. You can also add skills into your About section. So if your About section talks about how you use these skills, you can highlight those skills in the About section. What does this do? By having the skills sprinkled throughout your LinkedIn profile liberally, then that shows up in the ATS. It shows up in more robustly in a variety of places. So update your skills, order them as you would like, and sprinkle them liberally throughout your LinkedIn profile. Brian, I see your hand up.
Thanks. I just wanted to add, for those of you going to networking events or you're doing even a mini talk, if you message me on LinkedIn, I found this great app where you can get instant feedback by just showing a QR code or giving people a link on their cell phone. And so like if I was doing a talk here with Brenda I could put the link in, people could say, oh, I love the talk, or Dr. Brian's good at this. If you say, no, I didn't like it, it takes you to a different part. You still fill out information. But what it allows you to do is get updated feedback and testimonials immediately.
Thank you very much, Brian.
And thanks for that last tip on the skills. I have to go back and sprinkle them everywhere. That was brilliant.
Sprinkle them everywhere. Yes. All right, David, I see your hand up.
Yes, thank you. One person already answered, but I'm going to say it aloud anyway. In terms of giving recommendations to others, because I don't have any recommendations that I've given yet. Could I give recommendations to people I've only known who are connections, so I've only known through LinkedIn, online? I've never actually met in person, because people I've met in previous jobs I really don't have recommendations to give to, and they're too far back anyway.
So here's the yes and answer. Yes, you do have to be connected to them in order to give them a recommendation. Yes. I've worked with a variety of people that I have never actually met in real life, and I've provided recommendations. So it is not necessarily someone that you've only met in real life. People that you've worked with wherever they may reside around the globe. If you've worked with them and recommend them, sing their praises online.
Especially in these times right now. I mean, over the last few years, people are now working remotely and teams are being formed and created with people who've never met each other physically, but yet they work with each other literally on a daily basis, if not hourly. And so short of actually touching each other, you know each other, right? And so you could certainly provide to Diana's point, a character reference, right?
Because there are a couple of people I know who aren't LinkedIn connections, but I haven't worked with them. I've interacted with them, and they've given helpful advice and so forth. They would still be good for recommendations to give. Terrific.
Absolutely.
Thank you. That's what I was hoping to hear.
Yeah. Okay. And Andrew, I see your hand up.
Yeah. Hi. Good morning, everyone. I had a follow-up question to what Joanne was talking about. So I've seen and used the LinkedIn feature to apply, but when they pull, it's like if you are applying, let's say if you have two different tracks you can take, how do you manage that? It's like if you're going for job in this category versus job in this category. I mean, LinkedIn, you can only have one profile. You follow what I'm saying?
Not quite.
So it's like if you're going for, let's say, for two different job titles or
sure,
LinkedIn only allows you to have one profile, and typically you might tailor your resume for a specific job position. You can't necessarily tailor your LinkedIn profile every single time you apply, I don't think. I mean, it's not practical.
That is true. And our all-stars have some answers. Sue.
I did a detailed analysis of this about 6 months ago. Something like the nice term was pros and cons of one-click apply, and basically came on the side of do not let LinkedIn take control. And I downloaded my profile to show people that, exactly what Andrew's saying. I noticed when I work with mentees 3 or 4 times in the last couple months, there have been positions that are only available through LinkedIn, which means you don't have as much ability, but always write a cover letter. Absolutely, Abby will tell you that. Always write a cover letter, whether they ask for it or not. I think you need to know what it is LinkedIn or anybody else puts out from a resume you give them or from our LinkedIn profile, and be very, very careful. I tell my mentees, go to the job location, go to the website of the company if you can, if you're not being forced to use it, because you want the ultimate control over how you look in that two-dimensional space initially. And I see everybody nodding, so I know I'm not the only one who has experience with this.
Absolutely. And Linda, I saw you jump to add in.
Absolutely, because I agree. I think that it's important that you have that control. Your LinkedIn profile is generic. You can't change it every time to work for a different job. So if it's that case where you have those several different areas that you're looking at, and most of us are, then apply directly, because that way you tailor everything that you do. And if you still want to have that LinkedIn connection, then if the recruiter's name is listed on that position, email them, message them, and say, by the way, I've just applied for this position. I'm really interested. Give them 1 or 2 sentences. Please take a look. We're finding that a lot of recruiters say that people don't take that added step, so it makes you stand out even more.
Absolutely, that's true. And yeah, that's a great point.
I had one totally tangential, totally separate question, if I may, and
Go for it.
My younger daughter is sitting off screen listening to what's going on, and kind of while she kind of teaching her about networking. And I was just wondering if any of you or anyone on the call knew of something for students or recent college grads, if there's a similar forum for them where they can go and network with each other.
I can answer that question.
Joanne?
So 2, 1, there's this thing called Meetup. So you go on Meetup in your local area and you put in those specific criteria, and that's where people get together and meet up.
Damn.
I know that this
they
because
want you to come
I'm
where you belong.
helping people in transition or starting their new career. And believe me, you can hear, I would love to do it if I can make money at it. Hey, you can contact me. But so do Meetup. That's a really great thing. I actually use it as I moved to Westchester 5 years ago to meet people in the local area. I really, and I know I wasn't clear. I'm not talking about easy apply. I'm talking about going on the site, and when it says apply with LinkedIn, it gives you a button. You do that, it fills out your profile, right, for you, and gives you an opportunity to put your resume and a lot of time cover letter. But you can modify that, because all it's doing, but it does put some of the things behind the scenes, and a lot of the skills are transferable. So a lot of times these jobs, some of them are easy apply and you don't really get a choice. But if you get a choice, always go to the job link, go in, and if it gives you the ability to apply with LinkedIn, I've had success with it. That's all I'm saying. And then modify it.
And if I can throw in my 2 cents, Christopher, I know you want to say, and I've said this before, and I'm sorry if those of you have been on the call have heard this before, but I'm gonna say this until everybody understands it. Your network, the people that you know, is the best way to get yourself in front of a hiring manager, because nobody does that, or very few people do that. And so if everybody's going ATS or everybody's going to the website, that's great. But if you're the one who gets Christopher to walk you into the hiring manager, you're like in your own universe. And if you don't get the job, it's up to you, right? But you got to get in front of the hiring manager. 1,000 people are doing this, and your network and the people that you don't know can help you. Like, I'm looking at Andrew's daughter sitting there watching right now. Everybody's thinking, how can we help her? We don't know her from Adam. But here we are, right? But here we are, right? All thinking, the minds are churning now. Who do I know that can help Andrew's daughter? And we don't even know who she is, right? We don't even know what she wants to do. We don't even know any of that stuff. But this is how a network works. And it don't rely. The technology is wonderful. Don't get me wrong. I understand that. But there's nothing like your friend walking your resume, right? Linda's shaking her head, right? Walking your resume into a hiring and say, look, you got to talk to Christopher. This is the guy. He's the person you need. Stop looking at all these other systems. Talk to Christopher, right? This is what you want. This is what you need. Go back to your network, especially those of you who are experienced rich. Those of you who have a Rolodex. You know what that is. I know you know what that is. You got people in you haven't spoken to in 30 years. Call them up. Pick up a phone and call them and reconnect and watch how, first of all, it'll be like nothing ever happened. It's so great to hear from you. What are you doing? And the wheels will start spinning and off you go. I'm sorry. I'm
Joey.
I know.
Hopefully she's absorbing it.
Well, exactly.
I'm sorry.
As you see, Joey is rather subtle in
Yeah.
his delivery.
Love it. So I just want to give one example, and I was telling Tawana about this yesterday. So years ago, I was with a company for 23 years and did my own synergies, and it was devastating because I grew up there, right? And I didn't know where I was going to find things. Things were a lot different back then, 6 years ago. But I actually reached out to a recruiter when I used to be in IT that used to recruit for me. I hadn't talked to him in 10 years. And I told him I was searching, and he was like, really? And he took my resume and he went and gave it to the company. And they interviewed me for a job, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm not even qualified, but okay, I won't turn down a conversation. They created a role for me. And to me, that was the most amazing thing. And from then on, I tell everybody, I'm sorry, you're going to land, but you're going to be here again. So make sure you keep up that network.
Joanne, we've never met, right?
No.
We've never had this conversation, right? It just it boggles the mind. It's in front of you. Your network is in front of you. It's available to you. It's yours. Nobody else has access to it. Just you. Pick up a phone and call somebody you haven't spoken to. Watch what happens.
And even if you just meet people at different things and you may not even know them, if you reach out, and what I always say, the statistic is 1 out of 10, maybe 2 out of 10 will actually help you. And
Here's the other thing. Here's the other thing, if I may, all of you, go back to your job history. Review all the managers you've worked for. I guarantee you, dollars to donuts, everybody you've worked for, you did not know the day you met them. You met them because somebody you knew them. I guarantee it. That's how it works.
That's very true.
That's how it
Diana.
works.
Yeah, hi. I just wanted to circle back to a point on what Andrew Miller was talking about the multiple paths. So this can be also so I'm in somewhat of a similar boat, although it's more evolving towards entrepreneurship for me. But I was recently downsized from the software as a service industry as a customer success manager. And my profile was all geared towards that. So about 2 months ago, I decided to add on the mindful job alignment, which I have had for a couple of years. And I've been building this business on the side. And these two are very, very different. So what I'm doing is I had two separate resumes written. First of all, because I've been applying to outplacement companies to do career coaching. And I wanted to focus on my coaching background and what I had done professionally in coaching. So I have that. But what I love about LinkedIn is that you can modify your headline and you can modify your banner. And I've recently fallen in love with Canva. As you can see, I just did a virtual Zoom background yesterday, but I'm also changing up my banners periodically when I want to do different things. Like if I know I'm applying to a lot of customer success positions, I'll change it away from the coaching. I kind of go back, but you have options on doing that. And then I worked with Brenda on some wording of how to bridge what I'm currently doing, which is not volunteering. It's currently, I'm doing this for money. And then having that bridge with my customer success. So you can tweak, what I'm saying is you can tweak your LinkedIn profile accordingly and tweak it back. You can tweak it around is what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
It's not static. And then as you're applying with that, you would have that information on there. And then to Sue's point, you're sending the resume and the cover letter tailored to the job that you're applying to. You're tweaking some words or work with some of the coaches here on how you're going to tweak it. And you're running different versions, tailored appropriately to what you're looking for.
So then the LinkedIn profile covers a wider gamut of information, but the resume tailored to that specific job covers perfect.
Right, exactly. And the I've got a personal page running under Diana C. Stevens, but I also have a business page, Mindful Job Alignment. Plus I have a website, Mindful Job Alignment. And
Perfect.
I'm not advertising the Mindful Job Alignment. If I happen to send my customer success resume off, I just leave those other things off. If they find it, they find it, but you know, just
Okay.
custom tailoring it. But I've been straddling that for a couple months. So if you ever want to
Wonderful.
talk about it, just reach out.
So Andrew, does this answer your question and give you some insights?
It does. Thank you. Greatly
Wonderful.
appreciate it.
And Christopher, one last thing, I'll be happy to help anybody on the call today with their headlines in Canva. Like I said, I'm loving Canva right now, so
It is a
happy to
great
help.
tool.
I was just
And
going to say the same thing.
now, and make sure, Diana, you've placed your contact information in the chat. So please reach out, connect with a note indicating where you met, like this meeting, and why you want to connect. So reach out and personalize the connection invitation with a note. And David, I see your hand up again. No? Okay.
He was muted, I think.
All right.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I forgot. We touched on something just a minute ago about something that's been rubbing me the wrong way about networking for ages. And that is when the person walks your resume down to the hiring manager, says you got to talk to this person, the hiring manager looks at it, calls you in for an interview, you get the job kind of thing. Wouldn't, for that to happen, one would have to be, whether it's Chris or someone else, one would have to be the perfect person with a perfect resume and the perfect experience for that perfect job and a perfect match.
Not at all.
I couldn't just tell you to walk my resume down to a hiring manager of an environmental marketing or data analyst job, because am I really going to have a perfect fit? Is what I need for that to work.
So let's get some insight from the all-stars.
So, David, one of the things that networking does that we forget is it's not just the person who's going to walk your resume down the hall and say, here, hire this person. Networking is also about getting insight into the company, about what they're looking at, about the people that you might be working with, about what some of the issues are at the company. And I don't mean necessarily the bad ones, but what their hot buttons are, so you know what to focus on. It's giving you that added information and insight about how they moved into that kind of a role. Networking isn't just walking down your resume to the hiring manager and say, hire them. It's so much more.
Allow me to adjust my resume to fit better the opportunity.
Exactly. And it's giving you that added insight about the company, the people, the position, where they're going. I find from other clients that I've been working with that that's much more successful than actually saying, hey, walk my resume down.
So it's not to get your resume in front of so much to get your resume in front of the hiring manager's eyes. It's to help you tailor the resume for a job, because you'll know more about how the fit is, what they're looking for, what sort of person fits in with that position and company.
It's much broader than saying walk my resume down. You're going to find more people who are willing to give you the behind the scenes insight than you are who are willing to say, I'm walking your resume down. Because walking your resume down almost does say, I'm recommending this person, which means I know them, I know their background, their experience, and they are a great fit.
Okay.
The other way that networking works that you can take advantage of is if a company has an employee referral system, the person doesn't need to really know you, but if you've done a little bit of that networking, ask them the question. Would you like me to use your name when I apply so that if there is an employee referral bonus, you get it?
Okay.
They're much more willing to do that. And if you do that, if there is an employee referral name on your application, if there's that spot, if nothing else, you are guaranteed that a pair of human eyes is going to take a look at that resume.
Okay. So you got to look at the broader context.
Absolutely right.
Thank you very much.
Very true. And Joanne, you had something to add.
All right. I think the other thing, and thank you, Linda, the knowing about the company is also knowing the nomenclature. Like I've been told that they're really looking for somebody who highlights people instead of HR, right? For example, or they call their teammates, they don't call them employees, or they call them crew members. If anybody knows Vanguard, they call them crew members. So it's also about putting that right words in for the person to see it, and that you actually did your due diligence.
That makes sense.
Absolutely. All right. Let's see. So we have just a couple of minutes left. So I want to remind you that you can download not only the chat by clicking on the three dots and selecting download, you can also download the full transcript. Download both of those to avail yourself of all the resources that have been shared in the chat. If you saw a name and you didn't get a chance to connect, copy that. You can, once you download the chat, you can reach out afterward and connect with a personalized note. So be sure to do those things before we depart at 11 or the top of the hour. Dr. Simeon, I understand you have a question.
Hello, all. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay, great. The question was answered, but I'll repeat it for others who may have not read it. I had a friend who told me that I should take a list of all of my topics and all of my attributes and words that I've used in the resume that go beyond just the attributes, if you will, and put them into very small type, white them out at the bottom of my resume. And I haven't done it, but it's something I had thought about doing. And from what the audience, the group has said, not to do it because the applicant tracking systems apparently see it and they turn it into black text, and then winds up whoever looks at the resume will see this block of all of these code words, buzzwords, whatever you want to call them, and it's off-putting to them. So it's obviously verboten, and I got that message, but I'm repeating it for those in the group. So thank you for whoever answered it. Thank you, and I appreciated that. And obviously, I'm not going to do it. So there you are.
Well, thank you for bringing that up. And Linda.
It's an absolute big fat no. I very rarely say don't do something. This is a big fat no. It's a turnoff, not just for the ATS systems, but if it shows up somehow on the resume that somebody else sees, it is a complete turnoff. It's one of those things that will almost automatically get you put into the rejection pile.
Okay, I have one actual great little tip. I tend to be wordy, and where I write, I tend to write in a scientific and medical terminology space. And it obviously is for people who don't necessarily want to see that. I took my long cover letter and put it into ChatGPT, and it came back with an absolutely concise 4-paragraph, wonderful cover letter, which I posted to another job coach, and she just loved it. I'll be happy to put the before and after up into the into our space, and you can see how well ChatGPT worked. What I did was I used the command, please review cover letter, and essentially asked it to make it more concise and brief. And it came back literally in 5 seconds later with this magnificent cover letter, which I am eternally grateful to. So I recommend that. There's also another good AI space for editing paraphrasing, and it's called Quillbot, QUILL bot.com. It's free. It allows you to put in probably a page worth of text, and it will paraphrase it for you. It works extremely well. So I also have a list, if anybody wants, of 100 GPT bots, and they're everything. And I'll be happy to post that to the chat if we have another time, if not this week, next week as well.
Sure.
Thank
And
you all for
be
your
sure to share
suggestions.
that in the VIP group on LinkedIn.
I'll do
And
that. Yes, I'll do that.
okay, Joanne.
Anyway,
Sorry.
I recommend if you have a moment, go to ChatGPT, sign up, log in, put your cover letter in and see what comes up. Ask it in a friendly way and it'll come back to you 5-6 seconds later with an incredibly well articulated review of your resume or cover letter. And then you can, once you see that, you can ask it to make its changes. Amazing use of technology. Thank you all. Have a great week.
You too.
Okay.
So there's also Grammarly. And what you can do is you can take the job description, you can take your resume, and then it can help you tailor your cover letter. Okay, I know people say that's cheating, right? But you have a
All's
cover
fair in
letter.
love
and it
and
will-
war.
but it will merge all the things together. I mean, of course, you got to accept it, but I'm also a fan of Grammarly. I have it on. It reviews my emails. It reviews anything that I write.
Big
So
Brother's watching you.
I know, but it's
Yeah.
free.
Well, thank you all. Thank you very much, Joanne, for that. And with that, we have reached the conclusion of this session of VIP session for Meller Marketing. It can be a tongue twister sometimes. Thanks to everyone for participating. Thanks to the All-Stars, Dr. Sue. Wait a second, did we lose all the All-Stars? Joey, Linda, thank you all. Diana, thank you all for your contributions and helping keep this community vibrant and encouraging and engaged. So next week, Brenda will be back. This session has been recorded. Make sure you save the chat. Make sure you review the transcript and be active in the group to get the best out of the group. Network. Thanks all.
Thank you.